The flood is over. The giants are dead. The old world is buried beneath miles of silence. But according to Enoch, Jubilees, and Jasher, something came out of the water with Noah. Most people imagine the flood as a total reset. Violence filled the earth. Judgment fell. The ark survived. Humanity began again. Yet the ancient traditions surrounding Genesis preserve a far more disturbing aftermath. Enoch says the bodies of the giants were destroyed, but their spirits remained on the earth. Jubilees says those spirits began attacking Noah's descendants almost immediately. Then it records something even stranger. Knowledge connected to the Watchers was found after the flood, carved into stone, copied in secret, and carried into the new world. And Jasher places a human face on the continuation. Within only a few generations, Noah's family is divided, sacred objects are stolen, a warrior king rises, and humanity gathers again beneath a tower built to challenge heaven. One book preserves the invisible survivor. One preserves the knowledge that escaped destruction. One shows that knowledge and power returning through human hands. Placed together, they suggest the flood destroyed the civilization of the Watchers, but not every consequence of their rebellion. So what survived? Not one thing, a chain. And the final link may be the most dangerous of all. To understand it, return to the moment the ark opens. The air is clean, the mountains are empty. Noah steps onto ground no living human has walked since the waters rose. Behind him are his sons, their wives, the animals, the seed of every future nation, and whatever the family carried inside during that long year. Genesis presents this as a new creation. The language deliberately echoes the beginning. Humanity receives a blessing. The earth is repopulated. A covenant is sealed beneath the rainbow. But a new world is not the same as an untouched world. The soil has been washed. The memory has not. Noah and his sons remember what existed before the rain. They remember the cities, the violence, the fear, the warnings no one believed. They know that beings called giants once moved across the earth. They know that the world did not collapse slowly. It ended in terror. And in Enoch, the first surviving consequence is already moving around them. First Enoch, chapters 15 and 16, explains what happened when the giant offspring of the Watchers died. Their bodies, formed from flesh, could be killed, but Enoch describes their origin as mixed, born from heavenly beings and human women. Because of that divided nature, death does not end them in the ordinary way. The text calls what comes out of them evil spirits upon the earth. Their bodies fall, their spirits remain. Enoch says these spirits afflict, oppress, attack, and cause destruction. They hunger, yet possess no bodies of their own. They rise from the dead giants and continue their violence until the final judgment. The Watchers are imprisoned, the giants are slaughtered, but the influence created by their union becomes a wandering spiritual presence in the human world. That detail changes the meaning of survival. Nothing needed to hide inside the ark. Nothing needed to breathe beneath the water. The flood could destroy every giant body and still fail to erase what those bodies released at death. This is the first answer. The pre-flood world survives as spiritual corruption, but Enoch only explains the origin. It does not show us the first human generation forced to live with the aftermath. Jubilees does. In Jubilees chapter 10, the sons of Noah begin to complain to their father. Their children are being misled, blinded, and destroyed by unclean spirits. The crisis is not centuries away. It appears inside Noah's own extended family. Imagine the scene. Noah survived the worst judgment in human memory. He watched the old world disappear. He stepped from the ark believing that the corruption behind it had been cut away. Then his grandchildren begin suffering from forces connected to the world that drowned. The flood has ended. The affliction has not. Noah prays that the spirits will be bound. According to Jubilees, the angels are commanded to imprison them, but then a figure called Mastema intervenes. He argues that some should remain under his authority because human evil requires an accuser, a tempter, an instrument of testing and destruction. The request is granted in part. 9/10 are bound. 1/10 remain. This is not an accidental escape. In the logic of Jubilees, the surviving spirits continue under limitation. They are not equal to God. They are not sovereign, but they are permitted to remain active within the post-flood world. That means the new creation begins with an old enemy still present. the number is smaller. The danger is not gone. And Noah responds in a way that leads to the second survivor. Jubilees says the angels teach him remedies, herbs, and methods by which the attacks of the spirits can be resisted. Noah records these medicines in a book and gives the book to Shem, his eldest son. This is easy to overlook because the knowledge is presented as protection, not rebellion. It is authorized instruction given to heal rather than corrupt. But the scene establishes something important. The ark did not preserve only bloodlines and animals. It preserved a keeper of memory. Noah becomes the bridge between the lost world and the surviving one, and written knowledge becomes part of that bridge. Before the flood, knowledge transformed the earth. After the flood, knowledge will decide what returns. The distinction is not simply between knowledge and ignorance. It is between knowledge received within divine order and knowledge seized outside it. Enoch makes that distinction clear. The Watchers did not merely teach humanity useful skills. They revealed mysteries they were not authorized to release: weapons, enchantments, the manipulation of appearance, signs of the heavens, the cutting of roots, the structures of power hidden within creation. The problem was not that humans learned. The problem was who taught them, what was taught, and why. Jubilees now places Noah in the opposite role. He receives knowledge from obedient angels to defend his family against the surviving consequences of disobedient angels. The same human world that once received forbidden instruction now receives guarded instruction. The same medium can heal or destroy. And therefore, the most dangerous object in the post-flood world is not automatically a sword. It may be a text. That possibility becomes real 2 chapters earlier in Jubilees' chronology. A descendant of Noah named Canaan goes out searching for a place to settle. There, according to Jubilees chapter 8, he discovers an inscription carved into rock by earlier generations. He reads it. He copies it. Then he hides what he has done because he fears Noah's anger. What was written on the stone? The teaching of the Watchers. More specifically, the text connects it to observing omens in the sun, moon, stars, and signs of heaven. Canaan does not merely find the remains of a ruined city. He finds a surviving archive of the rebellion. The water erased voices. Stone kept speaking. And the moment Canaan copies the inscription, the forbidden knowledge is no longer trapped in the ruins. It has entered a living bloodline. It can be concealed, taught, adapted, and transmitted. Jubilees even says that he sinned because of it. Now the investigation changes. Until this moment, survival could be understood spiritually. The dead giants leave spirits behind. Those spirits continue to afflict humanity. But the inscription proves that the pre-flood world also survives materially, not through a giant hiding in a mountain, not through a creature clinging to the ark, through information, a pattern cut into rock, a human eye willing to read it, a human hand willing to copy it, and a human heart willing to hide it. This is the second answer. Forbidden knowledge survives because judgment can destroy a teacher without destroying every trace of the lesson. The implications are enormous. If even one inscription remained above the destruction, buried beneath sediment, sealed inside a cave, or carved into a high place, then the new world was never entirely separated from the old. The descendants of Noah could encounter the past not as memory, but as technology. They could recover methods whose original masters were gone. And that creates another question. What happens when surviving knowledge meets divided humanity? Jubilees carefully describes the division of the earth among Noah's sons. Shem, Ham, and Japheth receive territories by lot. Boundaries are named. Mountains, rivers, coastlands, and regions are assigned. Oaths are sworn so that each family will remain within its inheritance. This is not merely geography. It is an attempt to place order around expansion. The world has been cleansed, but human multiplication must still be governed. Space must be divided before ambition turns every border into a battlefield. Yet almost immediately, the order is broken. Canaan sees a land that was not assigned to him and takes it anyway. His father and brothers warn him. They remind him of the oath. They tell him that seizure will bring judgment. He remains. This is where the phrase divided bloodlines must be understood carefully. The 3 lines of Noah are not presented here as 3 different kinds of humanity, nor as races ranked by purity. They are branches of one surviving family divided into houses, territories, and future nations. The danger enters when inheritance becomes possession, possession becomes entitlement, and entitlement becomes conquest. The waters have barely receded from history, and already a descendant of Noah is reaching beyond an assigned boundary. That act may appear small beside the violence of the giants. It is not, because rebellion rarely returns at full size. It returns as a seed, a secret copied from stone, a boundary crossed, an object stolen, a ruler obeyed. Then the seed becomes a city. This is where Jasher moves the investigation from hidden spirits and secret inscriptions into the visible world of power. Jasher chapter 7 preserves a tradition about garments originally made for Adam and Eve. The garments pass through generations to Enoch, then Methuselah, then Noah. Noah brings them into the ark. After the flood, Ham steals them from his father. He hides them. Later they pass to Cush, and from Cush to Nimrod. The details are symbolic and dramatic. An object from Eden crosses the flood, enters Noah's family, is stolen in secret, and finally becomes associated with the rise of the first great post-flood king in Shinar. Notice the pattern. Canaan finds forbidden knowledge and conceals it from Noah. Ham takes ancient garments and conceals them from Noah. In both traditions, Noah stands near the center of the new world as a guardian of order, while members of his own family remove something from his oversight and carry it forward in secret. One hides a copy, one hides a garment. Both acts convert inheritance into private power. Jasher says that when Nimrod puts on the garments, he becomes strong and gains influence as a mighty hunter. Whether the garments are read as a literal source of supernatural power, a royal relic, or a symbol of inherited authority, their narrative function is unmistakable. Nimrod's ascent is attached to something carried out of the world before the flood. The first empire does not rise from emptiness. It dresses itself in the remains of the past. Nimrod wins battles. Men gather around him. His authority expands until he becomes king over a vast population. The scattered descendants of Noah now begin moving in the opposite direction from the territorial order described in Jubilees. They centralize, they consolidate, they place strength in one ruler, one city, one name, and then they build Babel. Genesis tells the story in only a few lines. Humanity shares one language. The people settle in Shinar. They make bricks, build a city and tower, and seek a name so they will not be scattered. Jasher expands the human motives. The project becomes an organized revolt beneath Nimrod's world. Different groups imagine different goals. Some seek worship in the heavens. Some seek war against heaven. Some seek protection from another divine judgment. But all of them share the same foundation. Humanity will secure its future by collective power rather than obedience. The flood had revealed that no city could save them. Their answer was to build a greater city. The flood had revealed that heaven ruled the earth. Their answer was to reach heaven. The flood had scattered the memory of one corrupted civilization. Their answer was to create another civilization united by a single rebellious purpose. The waters ended one world in a year. Babel shows that humanity needed only generations to begin assembling the spiritual machinery of that world quietly again. This is not forgetfulness. It is reinterpretation. They remember judgment, but they draw the wrong lesson from it. Instead of humility, they choose engineering. Instead of covenant, central control. Instead of filling the earth, they gather in one place. Instead of receiving a name, they manufacture one. Jasher's tower therefore becomes more than a building. It is the first great post-flood machine of human unity, political, religious, technological, and military. And behind it stand all the survivors we have already encountered. The unseen spirits of the dead giants remain active. The teachings of the Watchers can be rediscovered and copied. The bloodlines of Noah have divided into nations competing for land and rule. Objects from the ancient world become instruments of legitimacy and power. Then a king gathers those forces into an empire. Read separately. These episodes look like scattered legends. Placed in sequence, they become a return mechanism. First, influence survives without a body. Then knowledge survives without a teacher. Then authority survives inside an object. Finally, rebellion survives inside human desire. That final survivor is the one the flood could never drown. Because water can destroy a world, it cannot force the next world to love obedience. This is the strongest reveal hidden across the three traditions. What survived the flood was not merely a residue of evil left behind by the Watchers. The deeper survivor was the architecture of rebellion, the pattern by which spiritual deception becomes forbidden knowledge becomes concentrated power becomes empire, and empire turns itself against heaven. Enoch supplies the first movement. The spirits of the giants remain to oppress and mislead. Jubilees supplies the second. Their influence continues among Noah's descendants, while Watcher knowledge is recovered from stone and secretly copied. Jasher supplies the third. Ancient authority is stolen, inherited, worn, and transformed into kingship beneath Nimrod. Babel is the visible result. The tower is not the beginning of post-flood rebellion. It is the moment the hidden survivors become architecture. And the choice of brick matters. Genesis emphasizes that the builders manufacture bricks and bake them thoroughly. They are not simply inhabiting a landscape. They are converting the earth into repeatable units, producing a structure vast enough to hold a single collective ambition. Jasher intensifies that picture by describing years of labor, enormous loss of life, and a project so consuming that the building becomes more valuable than the builders. That reversal echoes the pre-flood world. Knowledge, once given to serve life, becomes a system that devours life. Skill becomes scale. Scale becomes pride. Pride becomes sacrifice. The tower does not need giants because organized humanity has learned to create giant power through administration, technology, and obedience to a king. This is how the old violence returns without the old bodies. Before the flood, the Nephilim filled the earth through physical domination. At Babel, a centralized civilization attempts to fill the same space through a monument, a name, and a command structure. The threat is no longer one enormous creature. It is thousands of ordinary people moving as one will. That may explain why the judgment at Babel is different. God does not send another ocean. He confuses language. The answer to concentrated rebellion is dispersal. Humanity is separated before one ruler, one city, and one purpose can again turn the whole earth into a single machine of defiance. Brick by brick, humanity rebuilds the same essential crisis in a new form. Before the flood, the boundary between heaven and earth was violated when the Watchers descended. At Babel, humanity attempts to cross the boundary from below. Before the flood, unauthorized heavenly beings taught forbidden mysteries to human beings. After the flood, human beings recover those mysteries and organize themselves around power. Before the flood, giants dominate the earth through violence. After the flood, kings and empires begin to dominate through armies, cities, names, and centralized rule. The form changes. Even Noah's own household reveals the fracture. Ham steals, Cainan conceals, Canaan seizes, Nimrod centralizes. The builders of Babel unite. Each act is different. Together, they trace one descent. Secret possession becomes public dominion. This is why the surviving bloodlines matter. The line saved through judgment can still divide against covenant. The family preserved by grace can still reproduce the logic of the world that died. That is far more unsettling than the idea of a hidden giant. A giant can be hunted, a spirit can be bound, a book can be burned, a garment can be taken away, but the desire to become like the powers one fears can appear in any generation. And this is why the story does not end at Babel. Jasher moves from Nimrod to Abraham. The empire produces its opponent from within its own territory. Abraham does not confront a surviving giant. He confronts a system, a king, a cult, an economy of idols, and a political order built around the control of worship. The conflict has evolved. The battlefield is no longer only the body of a giant. It is the allegiance of nations. The great question after the flood is no longer whether humanity can survive water. It is whether humanity can survive the powers it rebuilds with its own hands. These writings were composed and transmitted in different periods, and the commonly circulated Sefer HaYashar is a later midrashic work rather than the lost book named in the Hebrew Bible. Their overlap, therefore, does not prove that every detail comes from one eyewitness record. But read as ancient and later Jewish interpretations of Genesis, they preserve a remarkably consistent concern. Judgment may interrupt corruption without eliminating the forces, memories, and choices through which corruption returns. Now return to the mountain where the ark rests. The door is open. The animals descend. Noah stands beneath a cleared sky, surrounded by the beginning of every nation to come. From a distance, the scene looks pure, but the three books ask us to look closer. An invisible remnant moves beyond the edge of the camp. A future inscription waits inside a stone. A book will pass into the hands of Shem. A garment will be stolen and hidden. A boundary will be crossed. A king will rise. A tower will follow. The old world is gone, but its logic is already searching for a new body. That may be the real meaning of what survived. Not that the flood failed. The flood accomplished judgment. It ended an age, restrained powers, preserved a family, and created the possibility of a new beginning. But a beginning is only a possibility. It is not a guarantee. The post-flood world still has to choose what it will build with what remains. Noah preserves medicine, memory, covenant, and life. Others preserve secrets, ambition, stolen authority, and rebellion. The same survival that carries hope can also carry danger. That is the tension binding Enoch, Jubilees, and Jasher together. The ark saves the future, but the future inherits more than innocence. It inherits unfinished consequences. It inherits knowledge that must be judged, power that must be restrained, territory that must not become conquest, memory that must become wisdom instead of fear, and freedom that can still turn upward and say, "Let us make a name for ourselves." The flood is over, the giants are dead. Yet the rebellion has learned how to survive without them. Subscribe for more investigations where Enoch, Jubilees, and Jasher are placed together to reconstruct the stories Genesis leaves compressed. And I'll see you in the next video.